Hello, everyone. Welcome to Your World or Mine. Show me yours and I'll show you mine. And this alien is really delighted today because her body's already starting to move of what's to come. And I have this beautiful Susan here, and she's really a dancing diva. But I want Susan to tell you about herself. But Susan, before we get to this beautiful movement part and the joy of movement specifically as well, I would love to ask you, what is your world like these days?
My world,
Mm.
my world is full of dancing. It's full of joy through the dancing, and I've created a beautiful environment and world around me. In that I work from home, and I've got the most beautiful garden. I spend a lot of time out in the garden, which was always my dream. And then I've got my home office, and I've got the studio that I run, the dance studio, which has dance classes and yoga. And I'm really doing everything that I love. I can honestly say that I've designed my life how I wanted it to be.
Oh, I love the way you speak about it. You say you designed your life and you built it yourself, you created yourself. I think that's for all of us. It's just the knowing that we can actually do that. It's possible. We don't have to be at the hands of others all the time. And we can really be the instigator of this. And like you say, you have this beautiful garden and your studio and your home office. That's wonderful. So I'm curious about this dancing thing. You said you create joy through it. How do you create joy through dancing?
The Nia technique is a specific dance technique which uses very mindful techniques to get you into the body. And the idea is to connect your mind to your body through the art of sensation. And once you've started connecting to the art of sensation in the body, you're in your body, that brings out this sensation of joy with a capital J. And different people experience it differently. And there is the idea of personal joy, which is all about emotions and connecting to personal joy. But in Nia, we connect to universal joy, which is an energy that is available all the time.
I can feel it now in my body. And everyone, I want to tell you a little secret. I have had the personal experience with what Susan is talking about. And there's this, and I love the way you speak about the two different parts, the personal joy that it brings, but also that you tap into the universal joy. So just from the perspective, if you feel lonely or stuck or disappointed, no matter your emotion or your physical state of being, what you're speaking about seems to me that it's for you. Whoever you are, whatever your situation is, don't give up, rather get out there and join something like this. But Susan, I would like to ask you a little bit more about what you call Nia. So is Nia a life philosophy? What is it about really in essence, beyond the dancing part?
It has many philosophies in it. The body's way philosophy is one of the biggest philosophies that we connect to, and the body's way in capitals. And it's all about using the body as it was designed. So it's basically got 52 moves, and in every dance class you will connect to maybe not all the moves, but depending on the routines that have been put together to stimulate the left and right hemispheres, it's stimulating a lot of things. And Nia is a word in Swahili that means with purpose. So there's a lot of purpose behind it. So besides the moves that are quite simple, they've been designed to support your body in the body's way. So it's an organic connection to moving your body in a natural movement. So there's a lot of linear movements, there's a lot of circles and spirals, which a lot of fitness workouts don't actually have. And it's the one thing that really incorporates the harmonious energy that the body really needs to stay healthy. that we're not just linear and straight down, up and down in the bodies, because how you move is how you're going to live your life. So, people get really switched on by the circular movement and the connection to the 13 main joints of the body, because in your joints resides your energy. So if you're moving your wrists, you're moving your elbows, you're moving your shoulders, you're moving your spine, your hips, your knees, your ankles, those are that's the GPS for your body to switch on its energy. It comes from within.
Mm. When you speak about it, there's so many things that emerges, but also I feel it in my throat. So when I feel things in my throat, because I'm very sensory, when somebody speaks and they say something and I feel it in my throat, it's usually for me personally. Now it might not be for others, but for me personally, it's an immediate indication that what you're speaking about, my body resonates to that. So it's true for me. And I have gone through those experiences, so I am a physical example of it, how it contributed to my sensory awareness and to the energy flow of my body. And the moment I stop doing it in my own life, I feel extremely frustrated. Things just don't work out. So the moment I can't move in that way, and I use it even when I do like facilitate anything, whether it's training or a conference or whatever it might be, I make the people move like that. And it's wonderful to see what happens even in a strategy session. That might be for people quite interesting to think you bring dance into it. But it's fascinating what happens when you do it in the beginning of a strategy session in a very informal way, to give people an experience of what you're talking about, the joints, the movement in the joints, to get the energy moving for that session, to come out of the mind, so to speak, the head, that you can become more centered. So it's powerful stuff we're speaking about here today. And I'd really like to invite everybody to go and hunt you down, number one, afterwards, but to have a first-person experience, because it's one thing for us to talk about it today, but it's something very different when you're experiencing it yourself. And I think just from my own personal experience, I can share that when you do it yourself, we're all different, like you say, Susan, which is so beautiful. We're all unique. And there's all different ways for us to experience it. But the one thing that I also want to link into what you said earlier about the body-mind connection, that it's integration tools as such. People like the word tools and techniques. But it also, because you're stepping out the spiral movement, the left and the right brain hemispheres are linked. So you became brain lateral, which means you can use your left brain and your right brain similarly. And
exactly.
that you're not labeled as just a left brain person because you're analytical, or a right brain person because you're creative and artistic, or whatever it might be. And that's what something like this, what you're talking about, this NIA thing, does for us. And I can vouch for, from a personal level, it's true. It's really true. It's not just a theory. It's happening in our bodies.
Okay, so what I love about NIA is the form and the freedom. So the form is the structure, it's the masculine, and the freedom is the feminine. That's the expression. So for me, they go together. And the healing that I've received through bringing those two together has really brought my two brains to cross over and really work together, so that I can really bring more potential into my body and life. It's all very well to do it on a brain level, thinking wise, but to actually do it with the body and 75 trillion cells working in doing movements that are bilaterally completely balancing you. So for me, bringing in the form was the missing piece. And then some people have got so much form in their life and they want the freedom, they crave the freedom. So NIA is the perfect forum, to bring the balance of that.
That's beautiful. And again, my body responds to what you say. Now it's my arms. And I think we go back to what you mentioned earlier about different types of exercise that's so linear, like running, like cycling. We don't say there's anything wrong with it, but it's a completely different experience when you are in something where you have the circular movement, where you play on different levels of your body, where you can go down, you can go higher or more expansive or more close to your body, whatever it you feel like that day. And you can play with these on different days. So on different levels and on different ways. But for me, the other thing that it did for me personally was my openness. So my receptivity changed completely since I started doing Nia myself. And when I went through the first training, the white belt training, it's my own openness of how I'm relating to other people changed as well. And I personally link it to the freedom of expression, like you say, between the structure and the creativity, which is my issue as well. I can be also very chaotic and creative. And likewise, I can go on to the other side. But then to bring back the other side again, my body needs to move. And that's when I get frustrated. That's when I then feel grumpy, which I usually wouldn't be otherwise. But I think it's, for me personally, it was that openness and the relating to others that was extraordinary, how that changed. That something like Nia also impacts our emotional intelligence and the way we relate to other people.
Exactly
Yeah.
that. And you know, people sometimes feel a little bit inhibited. You know, it's one of the biggest fear factors that hold people back is, how am I going to feel in a dance class? Am I going to make a fool of myself? I hear it all the time in the 15 years, you know, that I've taught it. And I just ask people just to step in, because you'll be held. It will be safe. And, you know, everybody that comes to Nia are coming to receive something deeply personal. And when you have a room full of people that are coming to deeply connect to themselves, whether they know it cognitively or not, it's a very expanded, beautiful space. You'll be surprised how comfortable you'll feel.
Yeah, you're coming into that space, maybe nervous or not sure what's going to happen. And then once you're in the group energy takes over.
Exactly.
And you become one part of this big wave. So regardless of how you felt, what aches you had in your body, whatever your experience is outside in the world, when you're in that space, that caring and nurturing without too much, because like you said, it's still your space, and you move between the other people. So it's not what I would say, it's not invasive. It's not a personal invasive thing. It's like when I was doing ballroom dancing and Latin dancing, you're always next to somebody else, close to them. And that's wonderful too, but it's a completely different experience. Because here it's your experience and you are responsible for your own well-being. And that joy that you speak about, that can just bubble up in whichever way. And nobody's going to care because it's your experience. So I think that's, for me personally, like what is so wonderful about it. That regardless, even in the business world, when we do these things during a training session with somebody or during a strategy session or a conference, people would ask you afterwards, can we do that again? Because it's contagious. They don't even know what they're doing. You're just asking them to move around a little bit. And the flow starts and the creativity starts and the innovation starts coming through them, and the vision, which for me is amazing, which is instigated by this movement. And I remember one time, I just want to share a little tidbit of where I was involved in facilitating a strategy session for a homeowners association. And there was people, very young people and very old people, like really old. And I made them dance in the beginning and using these steps that you're speaking about in a very informal way, just in a circle. And initially I had to go and challenge some of the people, but guess who I had to challenge? Not the older people, the younger people to move with me. But the fascinating part was afterwards, my friend who actually did this together with me said afterwards, one of the older men came to him and said, who's that woman? I want to dance. I want to take my wife to this dancing. So it's contagious, everyone. And I feel, and my daughter has been through it as well, and she was teaching it as well, that the younger you are, the sooner you start with this, it's going to make a big difference on your life. And I know one of my, I don't like to use the word guru, but one of my own personal gurus, Dr. Jean Houston, who's all about also advanced potential. Yeah, it's and potential. She's also doing Nia, and she's like 80 something. And it's just incredible what energy she still has. And she also associates it with her Nia practice. that she does. She goes to Nia. Wherever she travels across the globe, she goes and do Nia. And I think that's a sign for us. There's no age limit, but the sooner you start, the better, in my view. How do you feel about that, Susan?
Yeah, anybody can do Nia. In fact, my own mom, who's 76, did the white belt when she was 65, and she teaches 2 Nia classes a week.
Wow.
And you know, people improve. In fact, we've got one student in our studio who's a hospice sister, and she signs up every month to come 3 or 4 times a week. And she's been doing Nia for like 10 years plus. And she also did the white belt training, which is a week's training to take you right into your body. And she did it for her own self-growth and awareness. And she said to me the other day when we were doing some movement on the floor, because that's where we ultimately go to in the end of the class, is we do natural movement on up and down off the floor, because that's ultimately where you're going to use your joints in full range of motion, which is what you want to do. And she, I remember years ago, had hip issues and she didn't have stability in her hips. And she actually started getting arthritis. And she said to me this last week when I was amazed at how she'd gained so much stability in her hips. And she said to me after the class that she's healed her arthritis. It's basically gone just from doing the natural movement.
Wow. That's so fascinating. That's wonderful news, for anybody who's got any joint type disease, experiencing any joint type diseases. But Susan, I'm really fascinated. I want to explore what made you discover Nia. How did you get to Nia? What happened?
I'm a yoga teacher, so I found the healing arts of yoga, and I'm also a Reiki master and a Kahuna massage therapist. So, that the healing arts has always been very close to me. And I love the stillness of that and the connection, the deep connection. But I wanted something more heart pumping, something exhilarating to really get my heart pumping. And 3 people told me about Nia. They said there was no Nia in Johannesburg, and the class was coming to Johannesburg. And 3 people told me about that class. One of them was my mother, 2 was my 2 best friends, and I knew I had to do it. So I went to the class, did the class, I signed up for the workshop the following week. At the workshop, having only done 1 class, I signed up for the white belt training, the intensive training, which then qualified me to be a teacher. And then in the 13 moons that followed the white belt, I integrated all the tools by teaching it, which is how it works. And so, yeah, the rest is history. And now I teach Nia full time. It's my full-time occupation.
Wow. Oh, I feel it now again in my whole body. My whole body is tingling when you speak about it. Especially when you say get your heart pumping. All these other things are most beautiful, the stillness and everything. But it's this movement part that makes your heart feel, you feel come alive. That's my experience as well with these type of modalities. And I don't even call it exercise, because guys and girls, it's not just exercise. I can tell you now, it's not just exercise. It's something extraordinary that you have to experience yourself before you really understand what we're talking about here today. And Susan, you shared something interesting now as well. Even in terms of anybody who's doing facilitation work or teaching or training, something like Nia has a huge impact on your way of doing whatever you're doing in those type of scenarios. Because we use our bodies mostly. If we stand in front of people, or whether you're a public speaker, it's the same applies to public people who's doing public speaking. It's the same. You're standing in front of people, you're present to them. Nia brings you into your body. And I can also, it's one of the things that I can also personally speak about with all authenticity and impeccability, is that I used to dance my whole life, but I was dancing outside of my body. Till I came to my white belt training in Nia, in Cape Town, where I discovered for the first time, I was dancing for 20 odd years, but outside of my body. And I was doing all sorts of dancing, professionally as well. But I was always dancing outside my body. And for the first time, I discovered the experience of dancing inside your body, which is something completely different. And it's so funny now that if I do now do ballroom or Latin dancing, my ballroom and Latin partner says to me, "What are you doing? You're doing these funny moves in between." And I said, "I can't help it. My body will not go back to that, that complete structure like in ballroom dancing. Most beautiful, but my body, my heart wants to express itself outwards like we do with things like Nia. And yes, we can turn close to ourselves as well. But for me, it also links to how we show up in the world."
And like now that I'm in my 50s, I can honestly say that I'm the fittest that I've ever been in my life. And I can do athletic things with my body that I never thought I would be able to do, like climb mountains. And the other day I did a huge athletic dance class where I took my body to such heights. And it wasn't the body's way type of workout, but I could use the tools, just like you described during your ballroom class, of being in my body to stay centered so that I didn't hurt myself. And I took myself to an athletic peak. And it was quite a highlight for me. I could really feel that I've gained some body skills that I would never have gained if I hadn't done Nia. Even playing tennis, I could feel that I'm so in my body, the way that I connect with the ball and my joints. And I'm actually quite up for a tennis game soon.
I love it that you share that, because I can already just see myself. I can see you there, with the movement. I just love it. It's awesome. For me, it's wonderful to watch people when they're in their body, whatever they do, whatever activity it is. But the other thing that I want to mention that I find extremely funny and curious and actually divine is that people who's been athletes or cyclists coming into a Nia class is stiff afterwards. I've seen it over and over again. I just love it because you're exercising so many different parts of your body. Even people who swimmers, because you suddenly now if you have a whole body experience.
Exactly. And Hannelie, sorry to interrupt you there, but the athletes and the people that are so used to going beyond listening to their body, because that's what you also learn to do, is to listen to your body. They override a lot of their signals because they're pushing. And in Nia, we go to athletic peaks, but we're listening all the time. So when they come to a Nia workout and they see it, they think that maybe it's just half-mast, that you're not really getting your cardio system to any heights. But actually we are. But we're doing it in the body's way. We're doing it with weight shift. And yes, you do go off the floor and leave the floor as in jumping, but you're doing it with awareness of joints. And when you put electrodes on someone that's done Nia, it's the same heart rate as when you're running. It just looks more relaxed and soft. And like you're not outputting as much. You will sweat just as much, but you're sweating also from an intrinsic point of view. So you've got your extrinsic muscles, the big muscle group, and then intrinsic, you can become your own conscious personal trainer. So the more that you learn about your muscles, and that's why in the white belt, we really go into learning about the body kinesthetically, so that you get to know what's underneath your skin. And the more you know, the more you can use your body to access sensations of flexibility, agility, mobility, strength, and stability.
I love what you're saying, because if we just take it now outside of the dancing room into the real world, all those things that you share now, we all need them. And it's where we're acting from every day. So it's where is our awareness, number one, of ourselves in relation to the rest of the world. And Nia is something that brings us into our body, that we can have that healthy relation with ourselves and listen to our body. But there's something that you mentioned now that I want to connect to something else as well, but I think is fascinating. And I can also vouch for that it's really true in my experience, is that intrinsic awareness of your muscles and of your being, of your body. When I say to people, listen to your body to give you signals of whether you should make a decision or not, they say to me, how is my body going going to tell me? My body, I don't know how my body's going to tell me. I can tell you now that Nia is one of the modalities and things that you can do and pursue and explore to become more connected to your own body, to your own body sickness. And I love the way you spoke that you're constantly tweaking into where are you during the process. So it's not like when, like sometimes when I go running, I can lose it as well. I can just go, and then the people around me would just watch me and they say, you look like a roller coaster coming down. But you see, again, they are not conscious what's happening in my body. And with something like Nia, you constantly check where are you.
And one of the tools, Hannelie, is this is the music. So the music is chosen very, very carefully. So the teachers are very deeply trained through all the belt system, white belt, blue belt, brown belt, black belt, to really hone their attention to the music. So we learn the art of listening so that we can take people to tracking their bodies through music. So we deeply connect to the instruments, the drums, the voices, the melody, all the different nuances of music. And the music is chosen with great detail and attention. And that is one of our tools, our guide to stay connected to the body is through the music. And that's why people can't believe how they managed to do what they did in a class. They're like, I didn't ever think I could do that. And it's because we are trained as teachers to connect them to their bodies through music.
I love it. And now I feel it in my head. And the connection I want to make with that is to all the music lovers, especially our younger people, the ones who came more recently. I also love music. I play some instruments myself. But when you start doing Nia, music comes through you in a very different way. The way you hear music is on a very different level because suddenly all your senses are attuned into one. That's what Nia also does for me. It's the integration of all your senses. And when I speak about this with other people, they say, what do you mean? Like smell, taste. But Nia does that. Your auditory, your visual, all your senses, even taste, comes together through something like Nia. Because, and this happens spontaneously. It's not something that you have to think about. It happens spontaneously to your body as you go deep, allow yourself to go deeper and deeper in the process. And yes, we can go deeper into anything, whether we do it in a very close space to ourselves. Like today I'm dancing like this, very close to my body. And tomorrow I'm all out there. But it brings it all together, all those senses. So no matter of our expression, of how we feel that day or that time of our life, Nia brings it all together and it heightens our awareness and our sensibility. So all our senses, inner and outer. But I want to link it also to our intuition, our inner voice. Because when I ask people to listen to their inner voice, especially the younger people say, what do you mean? What's my inner voice? And it's not your inner critic, not the one that tells you you look bad in the window, or in the mirror when you do dancing, or the window. It is the part of yourself that's your highest expression, that speaks to you. And believe me, when you start doing something like Nia, you're going to hear that voice a lot more clearly. And that's awesome because it impacts your decision-making processes, how you see the world, which impacts your world views, how you see other beings. And I remember I had a very traumatic experience in Zambia a few years ago. I was invited to speak at a women's event, a business leadership event. And there was this lady, and I'm saying this with a lot of love and respect towards her as well, but she did something that traumatized me with there was a lot of young people there. And she would make the girls walk in front of a mirror and tell her what's wrong with themselves. Now guys and girls, I was horrified. Horrified. I can still feel it in my cells and bones. And afterwards, I tried to go and speak to some of those young ones without negating her, what she was doing in total, because she was doing something beautiful with them as well. But afterwards, I just had to go and speak to them to tell them. Doing that does not serve you. And in a Nia class, yes, there's a beautiful mirror in front of you that some people might be afraid of, but believe me, It's quite the opposite. It's the joy of being, the joy of movement, of seeing yourself moving. And yes, in the beginning, you might think, oh, but I'm too fat, or I'm too this, or I'm too that, or that, all those horrible negative thoughts. But once you start going deeper into the process itself, you see yourself who you are, the most beautiful, glorious, amazing being that you are. And through the process, your body speaks to you as well, because you start feeling, oh, my muscles are firming up. They're more flexible. I can move in all directions, which before I couldn't do. And so your relationship with your body changes completely beyond an aesthetic beauty point of view.
Totally.
And your heart
Totally.
speaks to you as well. Your heart starts speaks to you through the moments of that pure joy we are speaking about now.
You describe it so well, Hannelie. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And my body just wants to, my body wants to dance now. Susan, but I'm also curious about something else about you, is you spoke about your creative side. What's that about?
Well, I'm discovering more and more what's that about. There's more and more potential in there that I never ever thought I had. And my creative self is I believe that I have got the gift of hearing and listening to music, but also the gift of observation, the gift of sensitivity. So I think that makes me feel like I'm in the right vocation as a teacher trainer. People come to the white belt teachers training either to learn to be a NIA teacher, or to learn about their bodies and become a master student, or just give themselves like a gift. You know, people say there's a before and after, and you know, the after of having the white belt in your body is a very different way of living in the world. I know that you know that experience yourself. So when I talk about my creativity, it's about my personal gifts, you know, what I bring to the world, and deeply connecting to, you know, all the foibles that I used to call them later are actually my gifts, and I really get to use them, you know, in the forum of the NIA work. So the creativity on the fly is something that I really have as a gift in the moment, and it creates. I'm able to create in the moment with music, with body, with the constellation of people, and I believe that all of my creativity is switched on in those moments. I really believe that it's almost not me. It's everything conspired to kind of bring out. And the NIA belt system gives 13 tools every belt to tap into more of these beautiful gifts. So, you know, NIA is called a mind-body workout, and in the white belt, it's about the art of sensation. And sensation is felt sense, connecting to the body, and then obviously getting all the other senses to switch on as well. But taking it further, a year later to blue belt, which is happening now in November in Johannesburg. The blue belt is, people will sense, okay, now it's time to learn 13 more skills, and then those skills are about communication, and learning how to communicate your truth in the world, and doing it in a succinct way, and learning how to be intimate with yourself, intimate with the world, so that you could be authentic. Because ultimately we want to connect to our deep authenticity of who we are, because that is the gift that you bring to the world. And then there's also a relationship. So in NIA, we the blue belt, we study everything about relationship. And it's relationship to self, first and foremost, relationship to music, relationship to body, relationship to others. And everything that you manifest in your life is about what you bring to that relationship to manifest what we call the power of three. You know, all those details. And then one of my biggest gifts to myself that I gave to myself in 2008 was the brown belt. And I realized that I just love living in the awareness of energy. So when I hear you talking about, I feel this here, I feel this here, I feel that, yeah, I get very switched on because I love living in an energetic world and sensing everything as energy. And in the brown belt, we learn how to sense the mind, like if you're in a mental place. We learn to sense if you're in your emotions. Like I'm really exploring that at the moment, like connecting deeply to emotional and using the emotions to channel it positively, into, instead of like becoming all krom from having the emotions in my body, I'm like learning to channel it in a positive way. And then also spiritually, sensing spirit energy, the higher self, the higher self which you spoke about. And then of course physical, it always comes back to the body, and then, my gifts that I received in connecting to myself with the black belt energy, which is the art of transformation. I really believe that I'm here to teach myself to live to my highest potential. And I have the gifts of loving myself enough to do that and inviting others to do the same.
It's so fascinating. My body's what's so fascinating, everybody else I think will agree with me, that when you start speaking about the brown belt, your whole body physique changed, your whole essence changed. The real Susan came out. So beautiful. And what's so fascinating is what you also shared now, just through sharing about the white, the blue, the brown, and the black belt, is it's a personal development journey by itself. And I personally didn't do near a white belt trained to become a teacher. I can do it, but it's not what I'm here for. I love dance, but it's not what I'm here for. But it was my personal journey of coming back into my body. So for me, the whole thing of just, if you go to do the dancing often as much, and then you take these next steps to start to explore these different parts of yourself through the dancing, your life changes. It's a very interesting, and I would say fascinating way as part of the personal development path, because it brings everything together in the body. Because we can go, and I've done crazy and amazing things as part of my own personal development path all over the world, very weird things. But for me, if I look back today, it is the part that I could bring it into my body that was most significant for me personally. And for everybody else, it would be maybe the other way around or something different, but it was the ability to experience it every day in whatever scenario. And this energetic world that you speak about, well, it's my world. So I'm not going to cut that off from the rest of the world. It's who I am in this moment. And we will always feel maybe at home more in a specific one. Like you were speaking about the relationships and communication, and you were speaking about the transformational part, the black belt. That by itself shows you where you will be drawn to in the end, which you will go deeper into. And with the younger people these days, they like to explore many things, not only one thing. In the past, it was you became a specialist in one thing. But here's something like Nia gives you the possibility to whatever you explore out in the outer world, to bring it together through something like Nia, which I think is amazing. It's really amazing. Susan, I'm really grateful. My whole body's tingling. I had to move to another room. There was just so much going on here now that I so much appreciate, but I'm really curious about something else besides my own experience with it, because yours, I think, is a lot more structured and more flowing. What is the effect of doing something Nia in the business world? How do you bring it into the business world for people?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot more Nia in the business world. Yesterday, I did a session, an hour session with the Department of Health, all the medical staff, and we were out at Hartbeespoort Dam, and for the next 4 weeks, I've got a session with them every week, basically to support the medical staff that are dealing with, very traumatic situations. So how we bring it into that kind of forum is they connect inward, they connect to the feet, they connect to the body. They've got a roadmap with the joints. There's a lot of joy connected to the music. and the cells vibrate at a different frequency so that they can connect to joy and process whatever they need to process. We use a lot of sound, and there's a lot of letting go and connecting with each other. You know, the whole community aspect, because in their microcosm of their world, in these ongoing traumatic situations, they need the support. They need to have fun. They need to have joy. So we bring all of that in, and the energy that changes this kind of very serious, downtrodden feeling expands into lightness, connection, community. And I really believe that's how the whole world will thrive, is if everybody feels connected to themselves, to each other. And I really think we could change the world just by being in the body, one body at a time. So I really have the first and foremost experience of corporate people in different spheres, whether it be hospitals or business. They feel a connection, which is an energy that carries people in the world to be the best that they are, rather than this ego-based competitiveness or negativity. It brings about positivity in the world. You know, NIA is a feel-good workout. It's how you feel, and it's because you're using the body in the body's way. You know, people are blown away how they can connect so deeply to themselves. And I think a lot of people in corporate spheres, they get depressed. They feel like they're on a treadmill. They're not connecting to the essence of why they're doing the work. You know, the decisions are made from fear-based decisions. You know, being in your body is going to change all of that. You're going to do things differently. Maybe you stay in the same job, but you do it differently. You manifest differently. You know, why shouldn't everybody live an authentic life? You know, the world, you know, is ready for that now.
That's wonderful. So I would like to invite everyone who's, whether you are in the business world or not, don't think it doesn't have a place in your environment. It does, definitely, as you're sharing now, Susan. It's a gem, so go and explore it. Introduce it gently to your people in whatever way. There was somebody like Susan who's really experienced and is also bring it into the world in such a deep, authentic way, and expose your people to it. And you can bring it into any context for that matter. And in the beginning, people will be resistant, but the moment the body starts moving, the resistance go out by the window. And it's mostly just fear. So don't be afraid of that. So I'd like to invite you to connect to Susan and to explore what possibilities are available. Susan, thank you so much for being with us today. But I want to ask you, if for our younger generations, the ones who came more recently, what message would you have for them?
My message is start now. Start learning to use movement as your meditation. You know, life is so fast, and this is a way of slowing down the mind to stay balanced, to gain tools, and it's going to sustain you for your life. And you know, people find Buddhist meditation, they find all kinds of things, and maybe they find it later in life, but NIA has got the same ability to assist you to track your thoughts, to track where you are, to bring you to the stillness, to notice the ebb and flows, to let go. These are the life tools that they're going to take you very far in life to live an authentic, relaxed life. Why wait? You know, start now. Even if you just put your big toe in and test it out. And a lot more younger people are finding NIA. You know, people are just up for it.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Susan, and for sharing all your wisdom and what you're doing in the world with this beautiful, I don't want to call it a practice, for me it's a lot more than a practice, for our ability to be able to experience joy in our bodies. Because I think that's the ultimate. We can experience joy on many other levels as well, but if it's not here in the body, it's not connected to who we truly are. So thank you so much for that today, Susan. And everyone, thank you for being with us. And we're looking forward to connect with you soon again.